But our biggest national security crisis is Barack Obama. Ignoring threats to our national security is the Obama doctrine. And the contrast with Ronald Reagan could not be clearer. Reagan believed in peace through strength, not isolationism, not multilateralism. Today, can you just imagine Ronald Reagan dealing with Vladimir Putin?
All right, that was a little bit of the speech that John Bolton gave earlier today, that stage behind me there where all the great speakers were up. John Bolton brought this crowd, which is a little bit leery of American involvement in foreign wars. He brought them to their feet, though, in talking about America being stronger in the area of foreign policy.
Libya is the paradigm of the Obama doctrine's failures. The attack in Benghazi on September the 11th, 2012, was a direct attack on the United States. You know, overseas, a president's personal representative is our ambassador. So the killing of Christopher Stevens was not just the murder of an American citizen, it was the murder of the president's personal representative in Libya. And since then, the president has done nothing to avenge Chris Stevens' death. This is a terrible lesson. This is a terrible lesson for our adversaries to learn, that under Barack Obama, you can murder his personal representative and get away scot-free. Well, I want to let everybody know that conservatives are not going to let this issue go away. And we will be happy to tell Hillary Clinton in unmistakable terms, we know what difference it makes, even if you don't.
All right, so that was a good part of John Bolton's speech. Shortly after that speech, I caught up with the former ambassador downstairs just after his book signing. John Bolton's no stranger to the Sun News audience, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and author of Surrender's Not an Option. Your speech today, sir, you were talking about America needing to get its foreign policy back, needing to get stronger. Relates to what I've been talking about in the show. Can America come back? You look at the economic freedom indicators, press freedom, you look at foreign policy, and what happened in Benghazi. Is it too late for America?
No, not at all. I think obviously Obama's done great damage to the country, both in terms of domestic affairs and internationally, and we've got 3 more years to go of further damage. But I think with the right leadership in the White House and Congress, the problem can be overcome. I don't believe in the idea of a tipping point. Look at what Margaret Thatcher did in Great Britain at a time when nobody thought that Britain could recover, and look at what your Prime Minister's doing in Canada. I think this is it's an inspiration to people in America that you can restore sensible government even after long periods of government that has followed statist policies domestically and feckless policies internationally.
Well, that's good news because there's got to be hope for America. The world needs the leadership. You mentioned a Reaganite foreign policy. What would that look like to an America that's increasingly weary of foreign wars, both left and right? You hear that. So what would that look like?
Well, that's what the public opinion polls say. It's true, but it's because there's not been adequate political leadership from the White House, and there's not been an adequate response from Republicans generally. The fact is, I think Americans are very practical. I think they understand that foreign threats can have a real impact on their daily lives here. They expect the people that they send to Washington to understand those problems and explain what steps are necessary. So we have a president who never talks about foreign threats and a Republican leadership that doesn't adequately explain why that's a mistake. These threats aren't going to get any less by not talking about them. In fact, it makes it worse when the impact actually arrives. So I think with a little bit of a change in political leadership, the American people will respond. They understand what's called on them to do, but if their leaders aren't asking them, they're not going to do it.
Canada showing greater leadership on Ukraine than Obama is. What should President Obama or the congressional leadership be doing in this situation?
Well, I think our options are limited now because of 5 years of not having focused on the problem. I think the real answer is to provide security and stability in the gap between NATO and Russia. I think President Bush was right at the Bucharest summit in 2008 to propose a clear path to NATO membership for Ukraine and Georgia. I would return to that. That's not going to solve the problem immediately, but right now we don't have leadership or capability to solve the problem immediately.
Okay, what do you see the Ukrainian situation going in the next few days? Will Crimea become part of Russia? Will all of Ukraine become part of Russia without a change of course?
My view at this point is that Putin still thinks he can get a government favorable to Russia throughout all of Ukraine. That's his plan A. He wants to keep the country together under leadership that will do his bidding. I think partition is plan B if he doesn't think he can get a government nationwide. I think the military takeover of the Crimea is intended to show who holds the high cards, and Putin does hold the high cards at this point, but I don't think partition is his first priority. I think a government that does Russia's bidding is his first priority.
All right, Ambassador, thanks so much.
Okay, thanks a lot.